Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really bold vision for the future. It's basically a manifesto for solving humanity's biggest challenges using AI on an industrial scale. And no, we're not just talking about better chatbots here. This is a blueprint for a whole new operating system for civilization itself. Okay, so let's just jump right in. To really get this, you have to feel the speed of what's coming. So we're going to drop you directly into the deep end of the timeline, because this vision doesn't ease you in. It wants you to feel the gut punch of that exponential curve going vertical. So this is the world we're talking about. By 2026, we hit the lock-in. The whole game changes. The key metric for a company's survival isn't profit anymore. It's something called return on cognitive spend. Basically, how much intelligence can you generate for every dollar you spend on electricity? Then, by 2030, we get the liquefaction, where the physical world itself becomes programmable. And by 2035, all that chaos settles into a quiet hum, a world where even aging becomes a solvable problem, because we've breached longevity escape velocity. And that's the wild idea that for every year you live, science can extend your life by more than a year. But to really appreciate where we're going, we first have to put a name to what we're trying to escape. And that name is the muddle. That's the term for all the bureaucratic sludge, all the friction and inefficiency and old world thinking that holds us back today. It's the enemy this whole blueprint is designed to just completely dissolve. So this whole vision frames our moment right now as the next great leap for civilization. It's a war, but not a traditional one. It's a war on a single critical, scarce resource. And if you look back, history kind of follows this exact pattern. First up, you had the scientific revolution. That was basically a war on ignorance. Before that, we had no reliable way to figure out what was true. The weapon in that war, the scientific method, a system for finding truth. Then came the Industrial Revolution. This was a war on the limits of muscle. For all of history, work was limited by how strong people and animals were. The weapon this time? The engine, which gave us nearly infinite power. Next up, the Digital Revolution. You could call this a war on distance. Information used to move at the speed of a ship or a plane. The weapon here was the bit, which let ideas flash across the globe in an instant. And that brings us to today, the Intelligence Revolution. This, the argument goes, is a war on scarce, expert attention. Think about it. Our hardest problems are always bottlenecked by the tiny number of humans who are trained to solve them. Well, the weapon in this new revolution is the token. Basically, abundant artificial cognition on tap. So the really crucial thing to get is the engine of this new revolution. And it's built on three foundational claims, three core ideas that explain how we get from here to that future of abundance. Okay, claim number one. Superhuman intelligence is becoming a commodity, a cheap, abundant utility just like electricity. The cost to make a super complex decision or design a new drug is dropping like a rock. It's heading towards its absolute physical limit, the cost of the energy to flip the transistors. The bottleneck just isn't human brain power anymore. Second, and this is a big one, progress itself can be industrialized. We can move away from just having vague goals or hoping for some random artisanal discovery. Instead, we can build what are called targeting systems. This is how you turn a field from a craft into a full-blown industry. Now, what's so cool about this slide is that a targeting system is not just a passive scoreboard. It's not a benchmark that just tells you how you did yesterday. No, it's an active guidance mechanism. You make a goal perfectly clear, you make it hard to cheat, and you attach a massive price to it. When you do that, you create this gravity well that just sucks in capital and AI compute until the problem is solved. It doesn't just record the future, it literally pulls the future toward us. And finally, the third claim. We have to focus this new commodity cognition like a shaped charge explosive. You don't just let all this new power dissipate randomly. You aim it with absolute precision at huge, positive-sum moonshots to solve entire domains all at once. Things like curing disease or cracking clean energy. So that brings us to the actual mechanics. How does a field get solved? Well, according to this framework, it's not some random, mysterious process. It's actually a predictable journey, an evolution through 5 distinct stages of maturity. And this table just lays it out so clearly. Every field starts at L0, right? The muddle, where it's all based on expert intuition and gut feelings. But then it starts climbing the ladder, all the way up to L5, a solved domain. And at L5, the solution is just a cheap utility. The perfect example is gene sequencing. 20 years ago, that was $1 billion moonshot. Today, it's an automated service you can order online. That is the destination for every major challenge we face. And the end game of this whole journey is to make a problem compute-bound. This is such a critical idea. It means we've turned the problem from something that requires a once-in-a-generation stroke of genius into a logistics problem. It becomes a matter of just pointing enough computing power at it until you get the answer. So how does all of this build on itself? Well, the source material calls it the abundance flywheel. It's this powerful virtuous cycle, an engine that literally turns compute into progress. This is the mechanism that powers the whole system and makes it accelerate. And here's how it works. This 5-step cycle shows you how progress can actually fuel itself. First, you commit a ton of compute to a very clear target. That focuses everyone's R&D until the problem cracks. Solving it triggers what's called a domain collapse. What was once insanely expensive becomes dirt cheap. That creates a huge economic surplus, which you then reinvest into more compute to solve the next, even harder problem. And the flywheel just spins faster and faster. This quote really captures the core shift in mindset that's required here. We're sort of obsessed with the idea of the lone genius, the hero who solves one big problem. But this model says we should instead celebrate the harness builder, the person who creates the system that allows everyone to solve that entire class of problem forever. So the ultimate takeaway here is that this future isn't some science fiction movie that we're just passively watching. It's a construction project. It's a set of rails that we have to consciously choose to build. This blueprint doesn't just predict the future, it gives us a schematic to build it. And that leaves us with a final, pretty provocative question. If this is the plan, which part of it will you help build?